Well, both pieces are done in the cold working part of the studio, and it turned out really nice. The next thing you have to do is decide which side you want up in this particular mold. And on here, I wanted that side up. So you place it in the mold. I've already done that. Even it up and get it ready to go. Clean off all the surfaces before you get ready to slump it. I'll use the alcohol, 91%, and the glass cleaner, and I'll go through it. That way it removes all the Sharpie marks that I wrote on the piece and cleans everything off before I stick it in the kiln. The squashing that I use, when you pull it out of the shells, it puts a nice texture on both sides. And I mentioned that before when I talked about the kiln shells. But the thing that you don't want to do when you slump is you don't want to take that texture off because the slump is too hot. And so what I've done, experimenting for the last 4 years or so, keep modifying my slump schedule until I get it to the point where I really like it. So we'll go ahead and set up the kiln currently, and I'll tell you what I do. And according to this sheet, it should be user 5. We'll see if that's right. So what I do is take it up 75 degrees, that's the rate, per hour, till it gets to 1140. And 1140. And then I hold it there for 50 minutes. And then I take it down at the rate of 200, so it cools it down nice and slow. And it goes down to 900. And I hold it there for 2 hours. That's just, again, to anneal the surface, make sure that the stress is all relieved as it goes down. And then I take it down 50 degrees rate to 700, and then it's done. Now it's ready to go. So we'll take the piece and we will put it in the kiln. Sometimes I'll add blocks on the end of that mold. Just to prop it up a little bit, take that curve. And everything's ready to go. Kiln's running. Hi, welcome to another day of the studio class. We're still continuing with fused glass, and today we're going to open up the kiln. That's always an exciting part. Remember, we slumped a piece the other day, and now it's ready to come out. Before I open the kiln, I know you're waiting, I know it's exciting, and I'm excited too to see what it's going to look like. But let me go over the controller and what temperatures we have and how long it's taken to do this slump. If you look at the controller here, we can see that right now it's 75 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's a good temperature to open up the kiln and to look at the piece. Works out great. If we look at this controller again, we'll see that it's taken about 21.4 hours to do the slump. It's a slow slump, so we have a total of about 60 hours total for this entire kiln process with this piece of glass. So that's quite a few hours. And then we can see that the 700 means that the kiln, the last segment, stopped at 700 degrees. That was where it turned off. So talk a little bit about the molds. Again, I used a stainless steel mold, and you can also use ceramic. Either is fine. With ceramic molds, you put the kiln wash on it, and you usually brush it on. With the stainless steel molds, you use boron nitrate spray, And this stuff works great. You just take it outside, spray it on. It makes kind of a white chalky surface onto the mold. It's real slick, but it is a release that works perfect. And if we look at the slumping schedule one more time in case you missed it at the last video, the first segment we want a rate of 75 degrees per hour up to 1140 degrees. And the reason I take it up to 1140 degrees and not higher is because I don't want to ruin that surface, that nice matte textured surface that I got from fusing it. And I hold that for 50 minutes. And then I take it down at a rate of 200 degrees per hour. Again, I want to take it down slow. I want to make sure that the annealing process happens in a gradual way. And I take that down to 900 degrees. I hold it there for 2 hours. And then I take it down 50 degrees per hour to 700, and then the kiln shuts off. And then it cools by itself down to ambient room temperature. Well, enough of that. Let's go ahead and open up this kiln, and let's see what that piece looks like. Okay. It looks like it's slumped really good. I don't see any cracks. I don't see any pieces flying all over the place, which I've had before. So it looks really nice. Let me pull it out. So as you can see, it's got a nice curve on the piece itself. I don't feel any rough edges. Everything's nice. If I did feel a little bit of roughness on the edge, I would take a real fine grit and a little piece right here, real fine grit diamond pad, and I would just hit it a little bit, and that'll be fine. But it really turned out really nice. Well, I got the mold sprayed, and let's go ahead and get this piece ready. So remember, clean your piece off. With some glass cleaner, of course. And wipe it down. We just want to make sure that's clean before it goes into the kiln. And I think I already decided that I want that to be the top. That's a little bit more, definitely a little bit more interesting than the back. So we'll do that on the top. So we'll go ahead and put that up. And I'll center it. Let me get a ruler just a second. It helps to have a small ruler, especially if it's a piece that it's hard to eyeball. So I'll go ahead and measure. I'll go ahead and measure the piece. It looks like we're almost an inch. Looks good. Make sure it's square with the mold as well. Okay. Let's go ahead and put it in. And on this piece, since I'm doing one, I usually center it. I usually center it inside the kiln, front to back, side to side. We'll just center it in the kiln. That way it kind of gets even heat all the way around as it heats up. And with this mold, I prop it up just a little bit. I don't want it flattening out any more than it does because I'd really like that curve in there. So looks like it's in there okay. I'm satisfied. Let's go ahead and close it up. And let's go over to the controller. Since I already did one firing with that schedule and I'm ready for a second slumping with the same schedule, all I need to do is press start. So I press it twice. That way I know that it's just going to start up. Now if I want to check it, let's say I don't trust that controller, I can go to the button Program Preview. I can hit that and it will go through and tell me where I'm at. So segment 1 is 75 to 1140, hold for 50 minutes. Segment 2 is 200 down to 900. I'm holding for 2 hours. Segment 3 is 50 to 700 and I'm not holding. That's when the kiln shuts off. And then it just stops. So I already have my preview. You can hear the kiln clicking. It is ready to go. So we'll come back, we'll pull that one out, and then we're going to look at both pieces in the light. And we haven't done that. So both pieces backlit. I think you're going to see some really cool stuff. Even though we're using, I'll give you a little hint, even though we're using opalescent glass for most of those pieces, you're going to see that opalescent glass is transparent as well. So we'll see you when that gets ready to come out of the kiln, and we'll go from there. Now we're going to look at the second slump for the second piece. It's always exciting to open up the kiln and see what's going on, but let's look at the controller first and see how long it took for this slump. If you look at it, and it's like 21.2 hours for this slump of the second piece. So let's go ahead and open it up and let's see what's happening. Looks good. We can see that it slumped quite well. We don't have any pieces that have broke off during the slump. Let's pick it up. Very nice on that side. Corners look good. No broken chips. Looks very good. So I'm happy with that. What I'm going to do now is let's see what it looks like when we put a light behind these pieces. Well, backlit, the pieces looked really nice. Let's look at them as we set them down on the table. There's several different ways you can show these pieces off using that stainless steel curved mold. You can set your pieces like that, of course. You can set them down, and this works well. They can use them as a functional dish. You can also display it like that, and that looks kind of nice too. So you have some options with this mold as to what you want to do with it, the pieces that come off of it, how you want to show your pieces off. So when you think about displaying your piece, think about the mold that you want to use. Are there some variations to displaying your piece with that mold?